It's my pleasure now to introduce to you the folks on the stage who are artists in residence, guest artists, and instructors. On my right, um, the distinguished gentleman over there on the right is Dr. John Knowles, CGP. CGP. John was the first person to be given a CGP, that's the Certified Guitar Player moniker by Chet Atkins, other than Chet giving it to himself. And it's quite an honor to receive this. There are actually three people living today, John Knowles, Tommy Emmanuel, and Steve Warner, who are CGPs. John has a Grammy to his credit and does really wonderful arrangements of guitar tunes, and we'll hear some of that this evening. Next is Pat Ferguson, and there's a bit about Pat in there. Pat has a degree in jazz studies from William Patterson University. He played in New York for a number of years, playing bar mitzvahs and various things like that. And Chet Atkins heard him on a demo record and brought him to Nashville. And so Chet's featured Pat on a number of different tunes, and actually Pat played on the road with Chet for 7 or 8 years. So let's welcome Pat again. Next in the middle is my friend Richard Smith. He started playing at age 5 when he was a very young man. His father was very instrumental in his playing. He studied Chet and Merle Travis. And actually, Richard played on stage with Chet when he was 11 and did everything note for note, and Chet just stopped and watched. I hate the boy. I'm really pleased to say that Richard's arrangement of The Entertainer, which, by the way, was worked out in our living room 3 years ago, has received more than 4 million views on YouTube, and so I'm hoping Richard plays that tonight. And one thing that I should say is that Tommy Emmanuel prefers Richard as one of his favorite duet partners. Next up is my good friend Jim Nichols, and Jim comes to us from Pacifica, California, and he's played in a variety of places on TV, in concert halls, and so on, with many, many famous jazz players. And you can read about all of them. Jim served as a master instructor for a variety of things. You know, I first heard Jim 5, 6 years ago at a Tommy Emmanuel camp, and I take lessons from a jazz guy. And so one of the things he says to me, okay, today we're playing these tunes. And one of those was Ain't Misbehavin'. And the only Ain't Misbehavin' I had ever heard was by Leon Redbone, who's kind of an interesting character in his right. And so we get to the Tommy Emmanuel camp, and Jim Nichols plays Ain't Misbehavin' and blows my socks off. And I've been trying to learn it ever since. I hate the boy. Next up is Brent Mason. And Brent Mason is probably one of the most recorded guitarists in Nashville. He's played on more than 1,000 records. We were talking last evening, he's played on 23 George Strait albums, played on Alabama albums, played with virtually anybody and everybody you can think of. And he's a 4-time CMA Instrumentalist of the Year winner. Finally, I want to introduce on my far left Brooks Robertson. Brooks recently graduated from Berklee School of Music in Boston. That's a pretty prestigious place in order to graduate, and I know that he worked really hard to do that. Brooks was taken under the wing of Buster B. Jones, and Buster B. Jones is no longer with us, but he was a fantastic fingerstyle player. Excuse me, sorry. Brooks has played in a variety of different places around the world. He recently played in Oregon. He's actually recently married, living in Bozeman, Montana. And Let's welcome Brooks again, please.